dude. I had to get coffee. I had to do stuff. Oh, man.
Hey, welcome to the I Am a Champion show today. Jimmy, Jonathan, how's it going today, fellas?
Good. Jonathan's fired up. He's wired, baby. I'm ready. He's excited. He's electrified. He's ready for Oklahoma one-on-ones. Let's go.
Dude, I had to get my coffee and stuff. And last night was my daughter's senior night, so it was all emotional and stuff. And it was her last game at home for her high school volleyball, which I'm glad they got. She's very blessed by that. But it was really fun. I was there. Her mom was there. Her sisters. They had a great speech for her. She's the only senior that's graduating, and it was just really fun to do. So I'm excited this morning. I'm really.
Hey, congrats on that. How many Kleenex boxes did you go through? Because I know you're a strong, tough guy, but that brings you down to your knees, you little teddy bear.
Dude, man, it was like you're sitting there and you're kind of glad you had the COVID mask on, because you were just every little play. You're like, that's the last time she might do that. Or when the girls were cheering and they were deliberately setting to her, and she had a good game, and she really went in there with, I don't care if we lose, I'm having fun. That was kind of what she did, and it was really proud to see.
Well, hey, congratulations on that, Jonathan, man. That's awesome to hear about your daughter and the successes that she's had and is going to have. Today, fellas, we got two very special guys. One of them, Jim and I have known for a while. I'll let you introduce him in a second. But another guy I just met maybe about a month ago. And, man, I've been jamming his beats in PE class, at my house. I got my 4-year-old singing. We got Roy Scott of Healthy Hip Hop. And, guys, I mean, I like hip hop, but a lot of the lyrics, man, it's like, oh, man, I can't have my kid listen to this. I'm not sure if I should even be listening to it. And I know whenever I was listening to it as a kid, my parents were probably like, what is this?
Turn that off.
Yeah. But now, I said, Roy Scott, the CEO of Healthy Hip Hop, is one of our guests today, and he is creating something that is just going to have a massive positive influence on our society. I'm excited to have him on today. And Jimmy, you've known Coach Jacob Derritt for a while.
Yeah.
So if you want to kind of share a little bit about him today, what we got going on.
Well, Jacob Derritt, he's the man, right? He's the guy you want to put on the court to lead guys to success, develop them through the sport of basketball. He walks in, he's like Coach Carter walks in and says, hey, it's not about the basketball, the leather, the air. It's about what I'm going to develop you through this basketball, right? Now, Jacob, he's been around us, been into coaching. He's in the banking investment business, but he's really got a heart. He does a lot of stuff with basketball. He doesn't get paid much to do it, but he just loves to invest himself into young people to make their lives better. And some people that he invests into don't have really a mother or father, or especially a father in their life navigating them, and he becomes like the father figure for him. So I'm proud of what he's doing. He's a head coach at Kipp Academy. They're starting a program kind of from the start, kind of like you, Jace, from the beginning, building the foundation. Nobody better to do it but him.
From scratch, yeah. And I'm excited for him, man. And it's and luckily, we're excited to help him, support him in his journey as well as he gets that going here this next year. So without further ado, let's bring him on, have him introduce themselves. And Roy, how's it going today, man? Good to see you.
Hey, I'm doing great. Glad to be here, fellas.
And it looks like we just lost Jacob on a Wi-Fi issue, but Roy, we'll go and get started with you, man. First of all, thank you for joining us today. And can you just share your passion for music, why you felt the need to create this, and how you also got the creativity to come up with some of the lyrics that you came from? Because I'm telling you, it's a phenomenal music that you have here.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. So really, I was that kid who was really influenced by hip hop music and culture. And growing up, I didn't have a lot of guidance around me. I didn't understand the importance of education. And so after I graduated high school, I had an opportunity to play Division I basketball, and I decided I was going to throw that in the trash can because I wanted to be a rapper. And so, I was running the streets of Kansas City thinking I was going to rap, right? And so started that journey. But on that journey, had my wake-up call when I was picking up my son, Justice, from school. He was around 4 years old at the time. And I noticed him repeating my music word for word. And so those lyrics promoted drugs, violence, misogyny. And that was just my light bulb moment that I couldn't be this kind of influence on my son or anybody else. And that's what inspired me to create Healthy Hip Hop. And so, just taking the urban hip hop beat and then put a positive message over it about education, health, and wellness. And then it's just kind of evolved into a startup tech company. We started really as a service company, but now we're a tech company, have a mobile app and online platform, and with the North Star to become an urban Disney.
Roy, that's a great thing. And you and I probably come from similar backgrounds, man. I had some moments where if it wasn't for football and having a dad, an older brother, and an older cousin, I could have gone the wrong path very, very easily. There's quick money out there, quick opportunities. And like with you, my wake up moment was my dad hated like groups like NWA. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. He used to say, I don't want Snoop Dogg in my house and all that kind of stuff. So we grew up listening to Motown all the time in 70s. Yeah, in the classes every Sunday morning. And obviously we grew up watching Sesame Street. And the one thing I always said, how come this doesn't speak to people like me? You know what I mean? I get it and I got whole, love the characters and everything, but there wasn't anything that, you know, how we rolled that could identify with us. You got a kid out there dealing with things like you said with your son, and they're hearing this kind of stuff. And then you want us to watch Sesame Street and for more people like the Wiggles and expect them to get that. What was the biggest inspiration to make it go toward children? Because you could have just been a normal rapper, but just been, you know, playing better lyrics, like, you know, a la Will Smith. Not that Will is soft or anything, but yeah, like that direction.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Will's a legend. And it was really, like I said, was seeing my son, I reflected on just how impactful music was on me as a kid. Like, you know, everything I was listening to, I started to become, because as you mentioned, like NWA, you were fortunate and blessed to have a pops who knew, like, hey, listen, we ain't rocking with this, man. Put on some Motown, like some wholesome, like soulful music that was really good for the soul and the mind. And me, I was coming up like, all my people around me was pushing me to NWA. Like, it was, I made NWA, Snoop, you know, Bone Thugs. And so that music really, it started making me want, I was becoming that. So I wanted to be in the streets. I wanted to do and resemble, you know, what they were talking about. And so seeing my son made me reflect on me. And I was like, you know what? I want to do something that is going to be influential on these young minds to make positive choices, to still have the energy, the swag, the vibe of hip hop culture, but to promote, positivity, to promote uplifting each other. And so that was really the driving force. It was my son. And I was like, man, I got to do something different. And ever since, you know, my son and my two other children have been my driving factor in everything I do, making sure that anything I can do in front of them. You know what I mean? I don't have to, you know what I'm saying? That's for sure.
Roy, how do you go, like, though you're down a path and you're around people that maybe are your friends, and you decide, I'm going a different path, right? I'm going to do something different. And I'm sure you have people like, man, what are you doing? What are you crazy? What are you thinking, man? That's nuts, man. Right? Being negative with you and maybe trying to entice you to stay or to do what you're doing, right? It's not going to work. So how did you kind of stay on the course and get through this negativity and break some, maybe these associations that have been relationships for you? And how do you encourage other people to do that as well?
Yeah, so I can be transparent with you all. This part of the story I usually don't talk about is, for me, it was really spiritual. And so it was really me getting closer to God and getting in God's word. And as I committed to that, I knew. So when I had that moment, what's up, Jacob?
Hey, what's going on, Roy?
Not too much, man. Yeah, so I knew, like, when I was really getting in my word, I was like, you know, I'm going to have to commit. I gave up everything. I said, you know what, I'm done with music. I'm done with rap. I'm focusing on the word of God and serving my wife and my children. And as I committed to that, you know, I had to separate myself from certain circles. And of course, especially, you know, in rap, the streets was like, man, dang, you're a kid's rapper now. Like, what are you doing? But I was just so focused and like nothing mattered. If it wasn't about my wife and my children, like, it didn't matter. And so as I committed to that and committed to serving God, then he gave it back to me. He was like, you know, do this and do it for the kids. And so I had the vision, you know, of what he gave me, and now just been kind of walking in that and manifesting that. And I was so just locked in. It didn't matter what anybody else said or thought about me, because I knew what I had to do, and I was gonna get that done regardless.
Jacob, hey man, welcome to the show. And Roy, that's amazing. You know, to have that kind of courage. You know, because it's easy to, you know, maybe go with the masses, but to break off and go another way and trust, have that faith, that law of expectancy that it's going to work out for you. That takes courage, man. That's no small feat. So, you know, appreciate what you're doing. And Jacob, you know, I've got to know you over the last couple of years, and you know, you've had some things with coaching that maybe, you know, had some tough things that happened to you, but you bounced back. You've been resilient with it, and now you have an opportunity to be the first and lead a program at Kipp Legacy Academy. Jacob, welcome, and share us with like how you're feeling about it now, and how do you plan on building a culture of champions both in and out of basketball at Kipp?
Hey, real quick though, Jacob, you can take your game face off, man. I mean, stop.
Wow, man.
God dang. I mean, you got it.
Well,
you got it buttoned up to the top. You look like you're coming in off the locker room. You're ready to knock it out. Relax. Easy. Okay, smile. Okay, let's go.
Bad, Jacob. Jim did that to me the first couple of podcasts too, and it's like, it's hard to turn that off, man. Just be me, brother.
You're talking about serious stuff here, and I'm having technical difficulties, even though I logged in at 10:40 today. So just a little bit of adversity to start the day. But guys, real quick, just thank you for having me on the show. Roy, it's a pleasure to see you. I actually can't see your faces today because of the internet connection, but good to see you again. Roy and I've had some battles on the pickup court over there at Davion's place at Shot Tracker a couple times. So very familiar with Roy. And it's great to be here with you guys. You mentioned some challenges along the way. And I think all of us and anybody in positions of leadership can attest to having some sort of adversity. But it all comes down to our perspective in life. Our awareness and our self-accountability and wanting to get better. And I also think that, God puts us in certain situations to prepare us for the next. Throughout my entire 13-year coaching career, I believe each situation served a purpose so that I can be prepared for the opportunity that I have right now at Kipp Legacy and starting their program from the ground floor. So everything that I learned from University Academy, everything I learned from Pembroke, everything that I learned from Aquinas, MoCan, Summit Christian, William Chrisman, and now Michael Porter Jr. Elite, I just think is a culmination of experiences that I can bring to the table to really impact young men's lives that I think one, using this vehicle of basketball can at least allow us to have the conversation about character building and what life is like, what's life going to be like after basketball, and and what are you interested in, and how can I help you get there? So I'm really excited about being in the heart of downtown Kansas City and impacting those kids and sharing with them the journey that I've had and some of the adversity that I think they could relate to and help them in any situation they're in or any future situation they're going to be in, so that they can come out in a way that they want to and they desire to have the life they desire.
Hey, something you talk about, Jacob, and we go through adversity, we go through challenges in life, and Roy, we talked about it. Sometimes individuals quit and give up on themselves. Some stay true and stay strong and get to where they want to be. And I know through you, Roy, you talked about the power of music, and I don't think people understand maybe the affirmations of what's repeated over and over gets into your subconscious mind and becomes kind of who you are. And you have songs on there. You talk about, say your daily affirmation, say that. What can you tell individuals that have that monkey in the mind that's telling you're no good, you stink, you can't do it, you're a bum? They told you, go ahead and quit. What could you tell them about like the affirmations, things to repeat to themselves, maybe things to listen to help them to stay the course, to get back up and go after what they want?
Well, what I would say is, self-love is just the most important thing to start with. And the mental health side of it, I think, especially in underserved communities, what we're seeing is like, it's becoming more of an important topic and is being addressed more now. But historically, like, mental health has really kind of been just kind of brushed under the table. And the mental health side of it is so important. How you think, what you believe of yourself, because a lot of the times it's a battle within. So even, I'm talking to my wife about this because like I have the voices in my own head where I got to suppress it. Like when that doubt creeps up or different things, you have to speak to yourself, and that's not, that's normal. That's not like weird stuff, but sometimes you don't know how to address that. So what I would say is love yourself, start with the self-love, because once you love yourself a certain way, now you put yourself in position to pour into and love others, that same way, and really take the mental health side of it serious. Like it's a real deal.
So I want to address something real quick, and I don't mean to get too political or anything like that, I don't mind being controversial, as Jimmy and Jason know, but when it comes to like you and I, all three of us are people of color. We know how it rolls, and like there's nothing that has influenced the world more, if you really look at it from a cultural point of view, than the African American culture, Black culture, and hip hop and basketball. Basketball is an international sports growing, and you can go to I can go to Mumbai, India, and there are hip hop clubs there. Like literally, you walk in and they're playing Africa Bambaataa, old school Run DMC. Kids are breaking, so we influence that world. My challenge has always been people like us, guys like us, is getting people like us, younger kids, to understand that we are worth $138 billion worldwide, but get less than 4% of that money. How do you get them to understand that money, you got to get in front of that money that's already there from your culture and leverage it to better, like, don't work for Mark Zuckerberg, don't work for Elon Musk, be Mark Zuckerberg, be Elon Musk, be, Quincy Jones, be the next Russell Simmons, Jay-Z. How do you get these kids to understand that they got that in them when we come from environments like this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's really about representation, because again, a lot of the times you're not seeing it as much. So especially, again, coming from Kansas City, like you think about it, like there's not a lot of even Black wealth in KC. There may be, 10 or so families, but a lot of the times you're not seeing it and you're not exposed to it, and it's not shared. But kind of what you spoke to also when you're talking about the culture, like, so in 2018, like hip hop became the most consumed genre in the world, and it's generating billions of dollars in revenue. But also you can see right now there's a shift taking place, and because you said we mentioned before we kind of started the interview about being from doing some work in Silicon Valley. Are you in Silicon Valley now, or are you in the KC area?
No, I'm still in Silicon Valley, man.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So you know what's going on out there. So it's like it's like monopoly money. There's so much money out there that they playing with. But it's the shift in mindset of now, becoming entrepreneurs, starting companies, like understanding also the financial literacy, because even if you're not necessarily an entrepreneur, there's different business opportunities and endeavors you can do to create wealth and create generational wealth. So I think just historically, Black and brown and underserved communities just have not been exposed to that, have not had access to that. And so those things are kind of starting to change, because and really, unfortunately, like I said, I won't get too political either, but like last year, we came out of Techstars, and I've just been learning like this whole venture world, this, startup world, raising capital, all these opportunities are out there. And like you said, for Black and brown founders, and if you take it to Black and brown female founders, it goes even less, but it's under 2% of funding that goes in that direction. And so last year, I started raising capital. I was experiencing a lot of those things. And then the unfortunate incident of George Floyd happened. And then what you've seen was a lot of these venture capital and a lot of these organizations started opening up money specifically for underrepresented founders. And I was a part of that. I got some of the Google money. It was a Google for Black Founders. They did $100,000 non-dilutive investment. And so, but that's starting to shift. But I think it's going to be about more of the representation and them learning about these opportunities, learning about financial literacy, and learning like because it definitely is a systematic issue when it comes to race, but it's also a economic thing where we have to be more educated, more aware, and know about these opportunities that exist, so we can create that wealth and get out of the poverty, mindset as well.
Yep. And I'd like to piggyback off of Roy there. I mean, making some excellent points about representation and education piece of it. And, that's why I'm really excited about this opportunity with Kipp. Most of you might know that during the day, I work for Chase Bank as a business banker or commercial lender. If it weren't for a parent at Pembroke providing an opportunity to get in the industry, I would have not pursued this type of career. But now, 12 years into it, have found a path, a career path, and a purpose in what I'm doing at the bank. But also, creating that representation to my players of this is an avenue. And not only is this an avenue, there's other professional industries that are avenues. And here's the education, here's the financial literacy behind it. And I think, you know, us as a people in general, you know, our purpose in life is to share knowledge. But I think, especially for Black and Brown, we need to do a better job at when we have an opportunity to share that knowledge and pass that on and provide a situation where they can see themselves as an entity in that particular industry or situation. It's really being, like you said, words of affirmation, being able to see yourself, someone planting that seed that you have the potential, you have these character traits that would deem you to be successful in this line of work. And here's the resources, and here's how you can do it. And I've been blessed to have a number of mentors, Victor Hammonds, Leo Morton, and others that I've had the opportunity to listen to them in their career paths and some of the adversities and bumps and pitfalls. And it's helped me, you know, guide my career decisions as I've gone. And we just got to continue to do that for the generation below us or after us.
Hey, Jake, a question I'd like to ask you is, you know, like you said, and Roy, you mentioned George Floyd and the issues that have gone on in the U.S. and America. I mean, you can see it with how the tension is with different races, with injustice. And, you know, you have a lot of these athletes that are trying to speak up and have their voice being heard, right? And so say you're a coach of a program and something happens and you have athletes that they're so upset and they're frustrated and they want to sit there and express themselves and you know, to let it be known. How do you go about that as a coach? Maybe sit down, converse with them, have a conversation, and make them maybe think, you know, just be calm and let's think this out. And let's find out the best way to express yourself that's going to make a positive difference. How do you go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, creating a forum, creating the environment where they can talk open and freely first, and asking questions of just where they're at mentally with situations as they occur, and talking through that. And then for me, what I found has worked best is being able to relate it back to situations that I've had in life. You know, I grew up in Warrensburg, Missouri, and have been in the Midwest for most of my life. And, you know, I've found a career in probably one of the most conservative, long-standing industries known to this country. So there's obviously a lot of natural, unique, not necessarily unique to me, but just natural situations that occur for a person of color pursuing this line of work, especially in the Midwest, which is why I am so in love with working for Chase and how they've brought a progressive mindset. But just being able to talk about my experiences as a kid growing up and having, you know, being multiracial, being Black, white, Mexican, and being not good enough for Black people and definitely not white, and kind of being in that middle, adding to that another layer to that, and then growing into banking and coaching and just having certain situations that I can tie back that are prevalent and relevant to kids, and I think they kind of respect you going through some of the similar challenges that they have, but not only going through them, but being persistent, being resilient, being able to take unfair situations and understanding life is unfair. And what is it that you can do at a macro level within yourself to make a change in that situation, or to change someone's perspective, or to just simply admit that certain situations and people don't deserve your energy, and that you need to go out and use your energy and time with folks that connect with your same mission, your passion and purpose in life.
I love that you guys are talking about this. And Jimmy, that was an amazing question. I appreciate you for bringing that up. And It's a thing that's so challenging, and as Roy and Jacob have both alluded to, you know, I'm biracial myself. My mom is like lighter skinned than Roy, and she's Creole. She's from Louisiana originally, and my dad is part Panamanian, which is from Panama, obviously Black, and part Korean. So I had to deal with all of that stuff, and I've been with my grandma, and people wondered how I was with her, you know, that kind of stuff, or with my Hispanic brothers and cousins and stuff, and down in Mexico and down in South America, and I've had to deal with that. When we walk into office buildings or into a business meeting or into a business deal when you're working at the bank, you know, what kind of lessons do you think we can give these kids? Like, I know what I say to my kids, but how do you know? You know, there's going to be a perception. You don't know what it may be because everybody has their own perceptions. How do you give them the tools to say, how can I navigate this and not react to this?
Well, you know, I was having breakfast with Michael Porter Sr. this past weekend, and one of the words that he said in our conversation is discernment. Having discernment can help prevent a lot of knee-jerk reactions. I think what young folks have to understand is, one, don't put yourself in the box because of how you think others perceive you or how society wants to place you in a box, and so they can understand you better or they can control you or whatever. So don't do that for them. You know, come into the situation with that presence that you are supposed to be there. You have a seat at the table. You wouldn't be in this situation or this position if you weren't worth it or if you didn't have what it took. And so that'd be the first thing, is kind of addressing that within yourself. And then two, you know, just know that you're always being watched, and always take the high road. Although some people might get off the little tic-tac stuff in the short run, what's the long-term vision? What's your why? Why are you really doing this? What are you hoping to gain from this situation and the success from it, to not only make your situation better, but to elevate others around you? So the thing that always keeps me humble or not ready to, you know, fire back at someone is the fact that I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for anybody else that can benefit from what I'm enduring. And I think, you know, that's been simply addressed because I understand my purpose. And I just really, you know, and I'll pass it off to Roy, but I really think that's where it's at, is if we can understand as a whole that even though we're in this individual situation, that we're still in this together as a people, you know, no matter what color you are, then I think those situations will take care of itself. And you'll find that the aura that you put in, the positives that you put in, will come back 10 times fold. Maybe not in that immediate situation, but down the road, I can definitely attest that, you know, God got to take care of you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And then also, just you got to understand. So you got to know going into it, you may face some additional obstacles that others may not face. But what I've learned is just to embrace that, you know, just to, you know, take that head on. And as you all know, as athletes, it's just like, you know, competing in athletics, whatever it is, you know, take on that challenge and kind of what Jacob said, just continue to move with integrity, continue to take the high road and continue to show your character. And I believe that, you know, it's gonna shine through, it's gonna show, and you'll end up powering through and achieving your goals and even going further if you just stick to what's right and don't be so reactionary, because you know what you're going up against is when you're going into it. So just have that state of mind and just be prepared to take on that challenge, you know, and for that additional level of adversity you may face.
Yeah, I do want to ask you this, Jacob and Roy and Jonathan. Jacob, you mentioned as a coach, you would talk to them about what you've been through, you know, the experiences of how you dealt with it, like you talk about. But you look at Jason and I, we're two Caucasian men, and there's a lot of Caucasian white coaches, I think, that coach in sports, right? So what would you, if you were the athletes in a locker room and Jason and I were your coach, and there was tension with what's going on throughout this year, and we're walking in being the leader of this team, this program, what would you want from us? What would we do? What would we say that should be like, yes, they got it and they helped us? What would that look like?
Man, I can't pull from a better mentor and leader than obviously, Jim, I consider myself a coach from your coaching tree, but I definitely had a very unique experience in sitting as an assistant for Coach Cates for the past year and a half, 2 years. And I think he just does it right. Coach, although we have our foundational things that what we will deal with, what we're willing not to deal with, some of those frustrations that players have after games, that explode in the locker room, just as you so mentioned. He did a great job of not jumping right in to cut that situation off, rather than to understand and listen to what's being said, and really dissecting where that type of frustration, pain, and hurt is coming from. So I really admire, his approach to, letting, players truly be their transparent self, so that he can then understand not only where they're at, but then to take them to where they need to be in those situations. And I just think it's very powerful when you just listen simply.
Yep, and I agree with that 100%. It's about, becoming an ally and, like I said, listening and understanding that, there's a different experience, in life. And if you look at just, like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it like we're talking about politically, but if you just look at systematically the foundation of the United States, right? A lot has changed, but there are still a lot of these things baked into, how different systems and how different, organizations, different things move. But the beautiful thing about it is sports is like, it's almost like colorless. Like, it brings everybody together. Like, everybody can come together to root for a team, the camaraderie between teammates coming together. And I think that's actually like one of the biggest, it breaks that barrier. Like, sports actually breaks the color barrier because everybody comes together. If you're on the same team, you come together for a common goal to, win that game or go for a championship. Or if you're a fan of a team, like I said, you all are rooting for a team. Mm-hmm. So I think sports kind of breaks that barrier, but I also think it takes understanding from coaches or from these leaders who are leading, a diverse group of kids to become an ally, listen, and share a different perspective of what their experience is. Because as we mentioned, George Floyd, we can just see even it's crazy during the trial of George Floyd, what just happened in Minnesota. I mean, you're still seeing this stuff, what's going on, in the streets, and it's almost unreal. But again, just becoming an ally, sharing that perspective, and continue to speak up, to use your voice, to use, maybe different things you have access to, or people or resources, or find a different thing you have access to support and uplift the communities.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that to add to that. For me, I group both of them. What I want to see you do, Jimmy? One, I want to see you listen and understand. You don't understand my journey, and you never will. Don't try to. You can emphasize, but don't try to steer me where you think I should go. Just be listening. And secondly, because it's whether it's the military or whether it's sports, give me a safe place. The reason why I'm in this is because I'm trying to play ball and be around my teammates and do stuff. That stuff's outside the locker room. I deal with it walking down the street. I deal with it on TV. I deal with it when I'm hanging with my friends. They know we don't get a break from it. You can turn off Facebook and social media. Turn off your phone. Don't text guys. Don't watch the news. We can't turn off our skin color. So when I'm in the locker room, treat me like a ball player first. Treat me like I'm a basketball player. Treat me like a football player. I'm one of your players. Give me that safe haven. That's going to make me feel a lot better than that. I can just a little digress. I can honestly say this. I wouldn't have been friends with white people if I hadn't been for the military and for football and sports. I wouldn't have been, because all I knew was cops picking on us and people calling me names. And then I got around people in the military, guys had never even seen someone non-white were suddenly around us and we get into an argument or a fight with Marines or Navy guys or a bar, and they were right at your side ready to fight for you, like in a second, because we had been through training, been through combat, and suddenly they knew you as a person, as a fellow military combatant or a soldier, just like they know you as a football player, a fellow teammate on their team. And that's what I want that coach to do. Give me that safe place, that leadership, give me that safe place, and just know that I'm going to have moments and listen to me.
And either one of you guys can answer this. So as somebody, you know, what are some questions you wish were that people would, like coaches would have asked you that maybe would have helped open up and build that relationship, as opposed to like what Jonathan said, hey, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have my agenda, you're going to do it my way. How do you think, you know, coaches can ask like what questions could they ask to help them to open up a little bit more? And then as a coach, like, how does vulnerability play into the fact that to help to be more relatable? Does that also, like, if I was more vulnerable about my story and kind of sharing some of my hardships to be more relatable, maybe in certain maybe situations, maybe not backgrounds per se, but situations, how would that help build trust, build communication, and help see more of their perspective?
Well, I'll jump right in here. I think it's true to coaching. I think it's true to the business world. Just building that rapport out front with folks, you know, understanding who they are, where they come from, what their background is, what they're going through, shows a certain level of attention and time and consideration, empathy. And I think, you know, people, when you lead with, you know, wanting to know them first, kind of start letting their guard down. Now, as far as vulnerability as a coach, you know, I'm sure there's folks watching this, and Jim and you guys know, like, there's no more emotional coach out there in Kansas City than myself. But, you know, I struggle with how much is too much of allowing my teammates or my players or even people at work who I am and who I need to be surface level with and who not. But I think that's also beneficial to show that vulnerability to your team and others, to show that we're all human beings and that we're all going through similar circumstances or going to face similar circumstances or challenges, and that it's okay to you know, have a moment and be able to pick yourself up and move forward, or you know, it is what it is, and it's life, and you know, showing that ability and that fortitude to continue to, you know, pound the pavement and push forward, I think is something that all human beings can relate with, especially young men.
Yeah, and I'm gonna again piggyback on both what John and Jake are saying. Is first and foremost, like you said, I want to be looked at as a player. You know, not as a black player, not as a brown player. I'm just I'm a player, and I'm here to, you know, connect with my teammates. So that's the first and foremost, and then the connectivity as far as building the relationship. So, of course, you know, on the court, you know, I'm approaching it a certain way, but then off the court, building that relationship, because certain kids are dealing with trauma at home. They're dealing with broken homes. They're dealing with different personal issues. So how do you connect with kids on a real life level? Like, of course, sports is that's why I think that sports are so important, because it's like it's parallel. Like, it's a lot of the same things that apply to competitive sports apply to life. Like, you know, teamwork, you know, building relationships, you know, all of these same, like the amount of work and your work ethic and being ready, being prepared, all of these things also apply, you know, in real life in the goals you're trying to achieve. So being able to build that relationship off the court, and that can be challenging because, you know, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of, you're basically managing a lot of different relationships, but it's very important to take that additional step to make a personal human connection with these kids, to let them know that you care about them more than just putting the ball in the hole, or more than just scoring a touchdown. Like, you care for them as people, you want to see them succeed. And that was kind of one of the challenges I face, is like, and I see it starting to shift. And that's why I'm so excited for Jake and what you're doing with Kipp, and like a lot of the culture is starting to shift, because Kansas City has always like had a lot of talent, but a lot of the times not the pipeline and not the preparation to get that talent to the next level, you know, and not to even position them, you know, for collegiates or position them for, you know, just career wise. I'm seeing that shift, and that's why I'm really excited about Jake and what you're doing with Kipp, because these things are going to be critical, you know, for this next generation of kids to really get pushed to the next level, because KC has the talent. We have a lot of that. But a lot of that, you know, that infrastructure to get it to the next level isn't there, but that's changing.
I think Jason and I, we've had conversations that, you know, when you grow up, you become part of your environment. And like, you know, they talk about it almost goes back to like 5-7 generations. And I even think about, like Jason, talk about like growing up as a young kid, we were around family or whatever. And, you know, negative comments are made of people of color, you'd hear it. And so you almost become that. Right, at times. And when maybe you go to schools that are predominantly your color, and then all of a sudden you get around individuals different colors, like, you know, being able to connect and being able to relate, and those are challenges. But the thing that's helped me, I think, that made it like an awareness for me, because I think there's so much ignorance that we have in our society. But somebody asked me one time, like, you know, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Jim Huber. He's like, no, you're not. That's your name. You're given to it at birth. You can change any time. I'm like, okay, I'm a basketball coach. He goes, no, you're not. That's what you do. I'm like, oh, not my name, not what I do. I'm like, well, my hand, my body. He goes, no, that's what you live in. I'm like sitting there going, where's it going? He's like, no, you understand, you're a spiritual being, you're a form of energy. Like you're talking about, Roy, like the spiritual part, you're a spiritual being. You're a form of energy. You came into this body and you're going to move out of it at one time. But like we have this outside exterior of like makes us look different, but in the inside, the innate of who we are, we're all the same. We're all the same energy, all the same, made from the same creation. For me, we can look past the physical side. We can look within. We look at the spiritual side of people. We're all from the same essence. Now we can unify. So I wish, you know, I know this is a process, but that's helped me shift. When I look at people, I don't look like, oh, Jacob's this black guy and he does this and he's this basketball coach. It's like, Jake, no, he's a spiritual being, man. And I'm connected. I'm one with him. So something to throw out.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to jump in real quick before I let Roy or Jacob jump in, because I think this is something that's a really important subject. And some people, it can be very controversial. Let's not delude ourselves. But one of the things that people have to realize, and my dad always used to use this analogy, is you're inside a big building or an apartment complex of your house, and you look out the window. Your view is real. That's what you see out the window. But if you walk outside, you realize you can't see the left and right side of that window. There could be a garbage can right there, you know, a monster there, whatever. You don't see everybody's point of view. And that stepping outside your window, that's you educating yourself. That's you choosing to find out more and getting more knowledge and more information about people of color, how to relate to people, how things are. And like you said, Jimmy, you grew up hearing comments about, you don't think we heard comments about white people growing up? Of course we did. But what we had to realize, and I know Jacob and Roy can, playing ball on the courts and playing on football fields and doing stuff, one of the reasons why young brothers and sisters of color, Hispanic, Black, we talk trash and we talk mess. We just call it jonesing, when you make fun of each other. You know what I'm talking about, man. If your hair wasn't tight or you had raggedy shoes, people talk mess about you. But what that did for us was gave us tough skin to deal with stuff like we can handle that. You can't say nothing to me walking down the street, you don't know me. You can't say nothing to me if you've never met me. You can't say nothing about my family if you haven't been around us. We developed tough skin because we didn't see positive images on TV or in movies. And the only time we got treated well is when we were athletes or entertainers. So we had to develop our own way of making ourselves feel. I wasn't trying to put Roy or Jacob down. I was trying to, you know, find my own strength and my own courage, and it happened inside the family. So to allude to what you're saying, Jimmy, the way that you make this better is getting young kids to take that same mentality we took talking trash and talking Jones and clowning on each other, and use that in the business world and education world and interact with each other. Find your tough skin. Find your tough skin. I mean, I'll let Jacob and Roy tap onto that, but that's what I always looked at.
Yeah, no, for sure. And things have changed quite a bit now, because this is so one of the things I'll talk about, this is the first generation of like fully native internet and social media using children. And so things are not, it's a lot more sensitive, and the skin is not as thick, and you got to really be careful. And really also, we talked about the mental health side of it. Like there's these studies that show like how social media and the internet, like these kids, like is really it's giving them some type of complexes. Like a lot of kids don't know how to interact with other kids, and this COVID thing didn't help because now you definitely everything's virtual. Like you don't know how to interact with other people. Like all the images. So just imagine. Could you imagine being a 12-year-old kid with the internet? It's the wild, wild west. I mean, you can hit the dark web, and I mean, you ain't even got to hit the dark web. That's why YouTube had that big old lawsuit, because all these kids are on YouTube. But what's happened is they'll hit an ad, and then bam, all of a sudden now they clicked into some, porno or something. Like it's bad. So you're right. The thick skin part, like it's a different age because it was more interactive, like person to person. Now with this social media internet, has become a lot more sensitive, and we have to be a lot more aware of that, like dealing with today's kids and how their thoughts are being shaped and what they're seeing and what they think, is cool or the right thing to go for. So I agree with you. And now it's like there's a lot more challenges now with the internet and social media, and that's what dominates these kids right now.
And I just add on real quick, going back to the thick skin comment. I think that just, it's definitely served us well, or served, at least me in my situation well, in developing resiliency at a very early age. Some folks say, man, or probably look at me and say, Jacob, why do you keep doing certain things that just aren't beneficial, like coaching for myself? There's probably more, unfortunately, in the high school arena, there's more liability in coaching than there is the reward. But honestly, anything that I've ever endured and been very short-term memory about it because of the whole thick skin thing. So I think that's an excellent point, Jonathan, and thank you for bringing that up.
And guys, and thick skin is important, but I think it's also important to have healthy outlets so you don't become bitter, you don't become angry, you don't become resentful. I think it's good to be tough, but I also think it's good to find people you trust to where you can let some things out. And I'm not saying you have to have like a therapist or anything like that, but I mean, you got to have those people that know you have your back and you can tell them anything, because then what happens is, those feelings get suppressed. Yeah. And that suppression turns into anger. That anger turns into violence. It turns into all these things. It doesn't matter what your background is. Like, you got to have healthy outlets, whether it be music, like what Roy creates, or basketball or something like that, to allow yourself to express yourself. I mean, those have to be part of the conversation. So, I think as we have this last 5 minutes, and I'll start maybe with Jim and go to Jonathan, Jacob, and maybe finish with Roy. But what does it mean to be a champion in all areas of life, and especially maybe specifically today? What does it mean to be a champion, to see other people's perspective, and to maybe be a unified front?
Well, and I think I want to piggyback on what you said in this champion part, which you mentioned, but I do think that it's important for us as coaches to show our athletes that we can be emotional, and then we can show our emotions. We can cry. We can let things out. Like, I feel like sometimes we got to feel like we're so tough and we're so strong, and you can't, you're weak, you're a wimp. No, you hear that at times growing up, like you're the certain word, you're whatever and it's like, I think emotions, they're a part of us. And like Jason, so I think as his coach, we need to model that. There's a way to express it, to let it out. But I think to be a champion, part of me is like we talk about that. Let's not react to things. Let's stop and think, and let's respond. And let's respond in the way that's best for everyone. What I want for myself, I want for everybody. And I think when we can do that, and we can get our athletes understanding that we don't become reactionary, respond in this positive way, we not only become champions in our actions each and every day, but we emulate in our athletes as well.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that, Jim, and that's an amazing point. I think also his point is acknowledging to these kids what actually being tough is. I've had this conversation with players I've coached, my own kids, and I've had it with other people's kids who may be in a single parent home or in a tough situation. It's like, I know you think, this guy's a tough guy because he plays football. This guy's a tough guy because he's an MMA fighter or boxer, or he has a lot of money and he's this guy rolling through the neighborhood with you and stuff. But you know what tough is? Tough is your mom getting up and working 3 jobs and coming home, making sure you're fed before she's fed. Tough is your dad busting his butt through a system that's not built for him, whether it's janitor, plumber, electrician, or he happens to be in tech world, and he's providing for you. And those people do that. Coaches do that stuff they don't get paid to do that to help you out. or make you a better person or a better man or a better young woman or a better young person. It's a responsibility they chose to do because they like you, care about you, and they love you. And it's like a big responsibility they carry all through their life. They don't get a raise. They don't get a promotion. They don't get time off from that. They're there because they want you. That's the people you need to realize what toughness is. And getting kids to see, yeah, I'm showing my emotions, but I'm tough because I'm here every day, whether you show up or not. I'm tough because when I get home, I'm making sure you do your homework. You don't have to like me, but you're gonna learn toughness. So when you get out there, I saw work ethic all around me, from my coach strategizing instead of getting mad, reacting, to my mom and dad doing things, to comrades and people that I meet. I'm going to show them that I can do that same toughness. It's lead by example, man. That's what I would say.
I think that's great, and I know Jim and Jason, we always talk about mental toughness with players. You know, just the going back to the champion part. You know, in order to be a champion, I feel like you first got to understand your why or your purpose in life, and then at the end of the day, you just got to go do that, and do it when it's not convenient. Do it when things are tough. Do it when it's not popular. Roy mentioned doing the right things all the time. And I think that's, you know, resiliency, even when it has repercussions to it, because you know it's right. And it serves your purpose. I just really think that in order to be a champion, you just have to understand not only who you are, but what God wants you to do with your talents and your successes for others, not for yourself, but for others. So, you know, again, going back to it, understand your purpose, be resilient, and then be able to lift up others around you when you find a platform or an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I think these are all valid points. Y'all left me at the end. I took everything I was going to say, but I would say definitely one of the things I was talking to one of my partners yesterday about the championship mindset is also common sense. Right now, common sense is just not common. You know, it's just the simple stuff. Like if you take it back to the basics, what we heard as kids, like treat others how you want to be treated. You know, strong work ethic, finding your purpose, and then, you know, going all out for it, and understanding you're going to hit, you know, roadblocks, but just sticking to the script, being resilient, being persistent, and seeing your vision all the way through. Because a lot of the times we come up against adversity or different things, and then we'll drop it or we'll quit. You just got to stick with it. So what I would say is the championship mindset is just really keeping it what they call a KISS. Keep it stupid simple, just really stupid simple, where it's like, I'm going to treat others how I want to be treated. I'm going to pour into others, uplift others around me. And, you know, I think that's what really, you know, makes you a champion.
And one thing I would mention, piggyback on what you said, Roy, is like you hear a lot of coaches talk about we have all these rules. And I love the one where it's just like, here's the rule. Don't do anything to embarrass yourself, your family, or your teammates. Yeah. That's it. If you follow that and you just don't do stuff to embarrass, pretty much everything falls in line. And by the way, as Jason closes some of this out, I mean, I know you probably got a beat, but by the way, my bebop is that close? Or that, Roy? I was trying to audition. I didn't make healthy hip hop.
Yeah. No, Jonathan, every time Jim comes on the show,
every show,
quit that, man. Quit that.
Every show, guys, Jim will do something like that, and I just go,
"What's healthy hip hop?" I figured Roy would close out some lyrics. I got the beat. Maybe Jacob's got the beat. Jacob, you got it?
You just broke your own rule, Jim. Don't do something to embarrass yourself, your teammates. You just broke your own rule, Jim.
I did. Gosh, dang. I'm so sorry.
Well, so
Jacob, Roy.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Jacob and Roy. I really appreciate you being here, especially as another guy of color and stuff like that. Whenever I can talk to brothers that are doing something and being about something, it's you know, it's a little bit of motivation. Going, yeah, things are getting better, cool. Because everybody has bad days, and it's just nice when you run into people that go, they're doing something and it makes you feel better about it, you know. So I appreciate you, and much love to you guys. And if I can ever help out with something, make sure you reach out. Don't be hesitating, because I want people hearing this to know part of being a champion is if you can't uplift and help other people, then what are you doing stuff for?
Absolutely. I'm gonna reach out for sure, and I appreciate you guys for having me. This was incredible.
Yeah. Jacob,
Yeah, likewise.
hey, good luck
I
with your
appreciate
season,
you
man.
having us.
Yeah.
So, Roy,
well, thanks for
keep
joining
up
us.
what you're doing. Thank you. You guys are doing some amazing things. Keep up the impact.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
I guess.
Well, guys, we had another great episode of I Am a Champion. Man, I think it take like almost like a week to unpack all the stuff we talked about today. But I think for me, it goes back to listening and seeing other people's perspective and empathizing with them. You don't always have to agree, but just hear people out. I think that's kind of what I got from it at the end here.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I got from Roy and from Jacob is they're using a vehicle that they're passionate about. Jacob's passionate about basketball. That's his vehicle. Jimmy's a coach of basketball. That's his vehicle. For Roy, it was music. That's his passion for it. It's find your vehicle. I think if you want to be a champion out there in life and make things better as a father, as a husband or wife or partner or in business, you got to find your vehicle that takes your passion. I think Steve Harvey said it one time. I'm going to mess his quote up, and I apologize for Steve Harvey fans. He said, you were given a special gift, whether it's make people laugh, or you can coach people, or you know about nutrition, or you're a cook, or you read well, something. And if you use that as your vehicle to express yourself and be positive things and be passionate, how can you fail?
That's really good, yeah. And I think on that, man, that's
I got nothing to say.
right
I mean, he closed it right there. That's a mic drop. Bang.
So I appreciate you guys as always. Good guest to pick, Jason. This was a fun show, and it was.
Yeah. I always like highlighting people that are doing great things, no matter what their background is, and so it's important that we share their messages of what they're doing. So,
yeah. And just for the record, Jimmy, beatboxing's not your vehicle. I'm just saying.
It's not. I mean, because there were some girls that liked it when I was like 12, 13. I thought they never called me back. They gave me numbers, and then I called, and it was like the wrong number. I was like, what? I don't understand this. I'm getting all these numbers. Yeah, no.
So you can't have game beatboxing like that, or beatboxing ever. I've never walked up to any woman or any girl anywhere.
I'm just getting tough in my skin, man. I'm getting comfortable with myself, man. Come on now. You make fun of me some more, Jonathan. Let's go.
That's what Trash Talk is about, man. It used to be cool, and I'm hoping that it's done in a nicer way for younger kids to understand. But I just hope that when kids watch this, or families or parents or anybody watch this, and they want to share it with somebody else, because the whole goal of this is like, we hope we're making things better.
Yeah, definitely. Please share. Anyone that's listening, that's viewing it, pass on to others who can have an impact from it. So thanks for doing that. And thanks for Jason, for always hosting, doing a great job. And Jonathan, just the impact you bring and bring this together. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you guys later.
God bless.
Have a good one.